less than 1% of Americans become Olympians. Less than 1% of Olympians do their personal best at the Olympic Games. Now, I've done both.
Jamie Nieto is a two-time Olympian, four-time US champion, and one of America's most accomplished high jumpers. Over a career spanning 2 decades, he represented the United States at the highest level, achieving his personal best on the Olympic stage. In 2016, a horrific training accident left him paralyzed from the chest down. Doctors predicted limited recovery, but through extraordinary perseverance, Jamie is learning to walk once again, a truly inspirational comeback. That same year, he married fellow Olympian and 400-meter hurdler Shevon Stoddart. Her performance on America's Got Talent became a worldwide symbol of strength and hope and their true love for one another. You got married, you walked down the aisle, you got 2 beautiful kids now, and
Yes.
it brings us to the next chapter that you're living, which Jamie is a true Renaissance man and has now pivoted his career, transitioning into the film and television business as a writer, actor, and producer. His credits include Power, Raising Kanan, Away, and has produced the talk show Cut to It, featuring authentic conversations with athletes and creatives. The Jamie Nieto story is one of transformation, from high jump champion to storyteller, from chasing height to redefining hope and never giving up. Jamie, how are you, brother?
Doing great. Thank you, Paul, for having me.
I am so pleased to speak with you. You know, I've been a fan of yours. You're going to laugh because I'm 168 centimeters short. And don't ask me why. I think my teacher didn't like me. He put me into high jump when I was 13 and 14.
Okay.
And that's when I fell in love with it. But if we can just, for the few audience members that don't know you, can you just give a short intro and then I'll unpack your amazing journey?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Jamie Nieto. I'm a 2-time Olympic high jumper. Also, I'm an actor, writer, and producer. And I've competed for 20 years in track and field. I'm a high jumper. And what else? I'm also a survivor of a spinal cord injury. And there's just a lot, you know. I don't know where all you want to go, but I guess we can say that for the interview. But that's just a quick breakdown of who I am.
No, I love it. And we're going to unpack your amazing journey. So one of the things I love doing is going back to talk about our childhood, because I always feel that our childhood never really leaves us. You grew up in a single parent household as an only child. What was that like? Did that shape a lot of your determination?
Yeah. You know, it's funny that you asked that, is because that not knowingly or unknowingly really kind of was my motivation for wanting to be successful in high jumping. I in college, I was just starting to get some really good jumps under my belt, and I think I just jumped like 7.5 1/4, 227, and broke the school record. And I did an interview with the school newspaper, and I'm on cloud 9 because I just PR'd and having a great time. And as we're doing this interview, the guy asked me, he said, why do you high jump? And I was like, let me think about that for a second. And so I thought about it. And I was like, I kind of want to give him more of a answer other than I just don't like to lose, or I'm super competitive, or something like that. It just really, at that moment, it just all became clear, and it was like, so me and my mother can have a better life. And then I just started bawling, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know I was going to be crying today." So, that was my motivation to help me and my mother have a better life at the end of the day. And I fought a long time, in track and field to do that. So yeah.
Well, it's so meaningful, because I always think someone's reason why is so profoundly important. Do you know what I mean? It drives you in a very different, visceral way. And the thing about track and field, unlike, team sports, there's nowhere to hide, right? So it's 100% on you. Now, I'm curious, when you fell in love with sports, you probably tried a lot of different sports. How did, high jump find you? Because I'm sure you tried other things first, right?
Yeah, I was actually a late bloomer. I knew I wanted to play sports coming into high school, and I think my freshman year I wanted to play football, but I didn't realize that the football team practiced over the summer.
Mm.
So when I got there the first day, they had their football pads on and they were doing it. It was like, hey, what? Like, I want to try for the football team. They're like, you have to wait till next year. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So I didn't do anything my freshman year. And then my sophomore year, I played football and was very athletic. I played basketball. I had a lot of fun with that. And then I was going to play baseball, but I felt a little tired and decided not to pursue baseball. But definitely knew I wanted to pursue basketball again the next year. I had so much fun with it. And decided I didn't want to pursue football anymore because football was, really rigorous. It's in Sacramento where I grew up. It's super hot. And it was like I didn't want to be spending my summers, you know, begging for water and having the coach yell at me,
Yeah.
So I decided not to do football anymore, but definitely want to do basketball. So my junior year, I went out for the basketball team again, and they had this rule: if you have a bad grade as a junior, they're not going to allow you to be on the team. But if you have a bad grade as a senior, they give you time to make it out. Well, I had a D in geometry, so I
Okay.
missed out. Yeah, I missed out on playing basketball, and I was super upset about it. And a friend of mine, his name is Calvin Bates. I kind of grew up with him. He said, "Hey, Jamie, won't you come out for track and field?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't like running." And he was like, no, no, no. There's other events. You do the high jump and work on your jumping ability. And next year for basketball, you come back and you'll be dunking on everybody. I was
That
like,
was the
oh, okay.
genesis.
That
Wow.
was the genesis. So I was like, okay, I'll try that. And when I went out there and did it, had a lot of fun with it. It was like very challenging to me to like, raise the bar and see kind of how high I could
Yeah.
actually jump. And then also it was a co-ed sport, so I liked that as well. And we traveled a lot, so I thought that was fun too. So it really gave me a sense of family hanging out with those guys, and I just had a lot of fun. So I think that was the key, is just really having fun and developing that passion for it. So yeah, that first year I just wanted to jump over my head, and I was 193, so I was 6'4".
That's a
Yeah, so
serious jump.
that's yeah,
How
so
how how old were you? Because I'm not from the US. I always, when people say freshman year, I always get confused what that means.
yeah, so I was 16.
Okay.
Usually you start, I think freshman year is like 13, 14 years old.
Okay.
Sophomore is usually 15, 16. I turned 16 actually my junior year. I was a little bit younger.
Okay.
So yeah.
You
So
know,
yeah.
you know, it's I always say to people, like be it in lifting or jumping, if someone's a good athlete, pound for pound. Like if you can jump your own height in high jump, you're a good athlete. You know what I mean? If
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
can deadlift 3 times your body weight, you're a great athlete. Things like that, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So I love measuring things like that. What I find interesting is that you've gone to, you were at East Michigan and you got a full scholarship, right?
Yeah.
Was that life changing for you? Because for me, getting a full ride, it says so much about your potential.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, I felt like, when I was in high school and I was jumping, I wasn't the best guy. I wasn't the best. I was just some guy in the midst of a lot of people, and I was somewhere kind of in the middle when I graduated. I ended up jumping maybe 206 when I graduated, 205, 206 or something like that.
Yeah.
And uh, made it to the state meet. And I was getting some letters from some colleges, some like D2 colleges, stuff like that. But I knew that I wanted to be one of the best. And I knew if I wanted to be one of the best, I would have to compete against the best. And all the best were at D1 colleges. So my sights now were like, I need to go to D1, and I wasn't really getting a lot of D1 offers. I was getting D2 scholarship offers and partials here and there, or whatever, for basketball and track. So I decided to go to junior college. Went to junior college for 2 years. I figured if I jump a little higher in junior college, then I could get a scholarship to a D1. And so that's what I did. I went to junior college. I ended up jumping, I think it was 214,
Okay.
and so that gave me a little bit more notoriety, a little bit, some of the colleges were a little more interested in me. And for me, it kind of came down to Berkeley and Eastern Michigan. And so I living in Sacramento, Berkeley was only about an hour and a half drive away from where I live. And Eastern Michigan was clear on the other side of the country. And I kind of wanted an away college experience. A lot of friends
Yeah.
that were kind of getting into some, wrong path. in life, and I didn't
Okay.
want to be home every weekend hanging out with them and
That
maybe
was wise
nothing.
because that takes a lot of courage and foresight. Because I had the same thing. Not everyone has that courage and knowledge at that age, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it was fortunate. Like my best friend literally went to prison for 10 years. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like, our paths went like that around
Yeah.
that time, from junior college. And so I went to Eastern Michigan on a partial scholarship. And
Okay. I didn't
yeah,
realize. Okay.
and so I found out they had a good business college and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I want to major in business, so that sounds good to me. So I went to Eastern Michigan, needless to say. And first year, I didn't do as well as I think I just thought that I was just going to take off because now I was in this college, like, oh, now I'm in this environment. Now everything's going to I'm just going to hit the next level. And it didn't happen like that first year. I was still kind of jumping around I think I jumped 215 that next year. So I went from like 214 to 215. It's like
Yeah.
nothing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was really upset about it because I was like, man, I'm supposed to be one of the best now. I'm here at D1 now, and this opportunity is probably going to leave now if I don't do something about this. And so I went to this last chance meet. I was in Tennessee somewhere, and I didn't qualify for the NCAAs. And I told my coach, I said, next year, be an All-American. I'm gonna break the school record, and I'm gonna make it to the nationals. He was like,
I
yeah,
love it.
okay. He said,
He
okay,
didn't. He
Jamie.
didn't believe you. He didn't believe you.
That's that when I went back and talked to him about it, he was like, no, I thought you were being serious. But at the time, I was like you. I was like, oh, he thinks I'm playing around. He
Yeah.
thinks I'm not serious about this, but I'm so sincere right now,
Yeah.
And so I remember we drove back from Tennessee all the way back to Michigan, and next year comes around, and I remember I was a little late for practice because I didn't know they were at the park instead of the track, and I'm running to the track, and I just got into it, and it was just like from that moment on, I just went as hard as I could,
What
and
what changed? Was it because obviously your body's still growing, you're still getting physically taller and stronger, but
yeah,
did something change other than your mindset? Did the training change?
yeah. Well, my mindset was the thing that changed the training, so because I decided I'm going to dedicate, like I never really lifted weights before. I
Yeah.
mean, like I kind of messed around in the weight room, but I had never been on a weight program. I never really went to practice thinking like I'm gonna give it my all every day. I never did that. I just went and was like, practice was like, I just got to get through this kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And the fun part is going to the track meets. Well, this time my whole mind frame changed. It's like I'm gonna put in much work as I can in practice
Yeah.
and lift weights and try to get as strong as fast as I can, and then see what happens. At least I know if I gave it my all in practice in the fall season, at least I know I did everything I could do to be the best athlete I could be.
Yeah.
Well, that first meet, I think I jumped like 216, and then the next meet I jumped like 221, and then it was
Wow.
like, yeah, then I was like, oh yes, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I became
Were you hitting like 220, 221 in training, or did it kind of jumped up in the event? Wow.
in the
In
event. Yeah,
competition.
yeah. No, I wasn't jumping that high. I never really was a really high jumper in practice. I think the highest I jumped might have been 26, 27, 226,
But
227.
but that's one of the things that I admire so much about you because your personal best was set in the Olympics,
Right,
right?
right, right,
And
right.
being under the spotlight, everything changes, as you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just, if you don't mind, because I'm going to geek out on this. So in terms of doing weight training, you probably were thinking, like one of my favorite athletes growing up in the UK was Jonathan Edwards, who's still the triple jump world record holder.
Mm-hmm.
And my observation of him was when he broke the world record, the next year, apparently he became a little bit faster, maybe put on a little bit more muscle, and it changed. This is my observation anyway. The balance. He never recaptured that brilliant, season again. How are
Right.
you balancing that by doing weights by not becoming too muscular, still being agile?
Um, you know, I graduated high school at 175 pounds. I'm not sure what that is in kilos.
It's not.
And
It's not a
then,
lot. It's not a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was 6'4" or 193. So
Yeah.
then at this point in time, when I decided to start lifting weights and getting, you know, really into my training, I was weighing 10 pounds heavier. I was 185. So I
Okay.
put on probably about 10 pounds of muscle,
Yeah.
you know, but it wasn't at that point in time, I wasn't thinking my strength to weight ratio needs to be a certain level.
Okay.
I thought that later in my career. And even when I jumped 227, I jumped that later in my career. Like I was already 30 something years old when I jumped 227. Like I had never really jumped that high in practice. I just started thinking, hey, maybe I should try to jump high in practice.
Yeah.
But anyways, but yeah, so that kind of is what happened. I put on about 10 pounds of muscle. So now I'm in college and I don't feel heavy. I didn't feel heavy. I felt
Yeah.
strong.
Strong.
Fit.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
doing your tutorials, are you guiding the athletes through training programs like that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say I would like to talk about
Yeah.
too. I have my virtual high jump clinic, and that's something that we talk about. And I started from like because I believe if you want to be a great high jumper, like you got to learn how to run. And I think that's the problem with a lot of high jumpers is they don't really know proper running mechanics. It's like a lot of them skip, a lot of them, do
Yeah.
the shuffle kind of run, and it's like it's not very efficient. So that's the first thing I tell people in my clinic is like, if you think about it, how much of high jumping is running?
Yeah.
Like percentage wise, I'm asking you,
Yeah.
Paul, what do you think?
95%.
95%. So if you're telling me 95% of what you're doing on the high jump apron is running, why wouldn't you want to have proper running mechanics?
Yeah. And
doesn't it make sense, right?
Makes perfect sense.
So that's the first thing I always try to impute on my athletes and coaches who take the seminar. And then we get into approaches, and then we get into phases and breaking all that stuff down. And by the end, I do go over like training segments, how you should train in a week, how you should train in a month, how you should train in a year, and a quadrennium. These are things that you can focus on. So I do break it all the way down for people who are really interested in learning more about the high jump.
It's so important. I mean, if you look at like Mondo now with the pole vault, I was so privileged I got tickets very near to where he was jumping.
Yeah.
And the core fundamental difference between is he's a runner, right?
He's a runner.
There you go.
And this is what I said about him all along is that guy knows how to run and he's fast. As I trained at the Olympic Training Center, and this is not any knock on any pole vaulter that was there because we had some great pole vaulters that were training at the Olympic Training Center when I was there. I never seen those guys do sprint workouts.
Yeah.
Never. Like I seen them run with the pole.
Yeah.
But I've never seen them like, oh, I got hundreds today, or I got to run 200s today, or 150s. Never. Not to say they did. Yeah. Like, and I've never really seen them work on their sprint mechanics. So to me, I was always thinking like, well, again, 95% of what you're doing on a pole vault runway is running mechanics. Why wouldn't you want to be the best runner and as fast as you could be on that runway?
That's the thing. I mean, people that are probably not avid fans, but if you look at Carl Lewis, he was a long jumper first, but obviously he was a beautiful runner.
Great runner.
He's one of those rare athletes. If you just saw a silhouette of Carl Lewis, it's Carl Lewis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I grew up, I really fell in love with his running. What was it like being a student athlete? Because one of the things I wanted to speak to are people that are coming through the college program. Being a student athlete's not easy because you're juggling a hell of a lot of things. There's a lot of pressure. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. Being a student athlete can be tough. It just depends. As I was coming up, junior college and stuff like that, I actually had a job and stuff like that as well. I was going to practice and going to school and all that stuff. So it was a lot, I think athletes have it a little easier nowadays because, if you're going to a college and you have a scholarship, they really kind of hold your hand a lot more than they did when I was in college. So I think it's a little easier, but, maybe the stress is a lot higher now too, that you got to try to keep your scholarship. I don't know. So it can be difficult, but it can be done. We've been doing it, I think the biggest thing for me, and I learned this in my junior college years, was time management. It was okay, I'm going to go to school from 8 a.m. to 12, and then I'm going to dedicate from 1 to 2 study time. I'm going to go to the study hall. I'm going to get a tutor, whatever I got to do for those hour or 2 hours right there. And then I'm going to go to practice. And then I'll practice from 3 to 5 or 3 to 6 or whatever. And then after that, then I'll go to work if I got to work. So it was like learning that time management. And then once I had those fundamentals and those basics in my repertoire, now when I'm at Eastern Michigan, it was the same thing. Okay, I'm going to school to this time. I'm going to the tutor lab at this time, and then I'm going to practice.
It's everything, right?
yeah, that would be my biggest advice to student athletes is just really be diligent with your time management, and everything will be a lot easier.
You know, it's so interesting because when you look at a lot of sports, and Noah Lyles talked about this, about really what being a world champion is. You know, he famously, when he was talking about in the NBA, if you win the NBA championship, you're not world champions, and that was quite controversial, right? But
Right.
the thing about track and field, and I did the research on this in Tokyo this year. The gold medalists only got 70,000 US dollars. And
Hmm.
when you think about you're the very best person on planet Earth in that event, in that discipline, it's a hard, it's a bitter pill to swallow, right? Were you thinking about that when you were competing, or you just fell in love with it and you just thought, I'm going to do this for as long as I can? Because it's a financial decision, right? When you're at college, you're thinking, I'm pursuing something, but what's the reward? You have to, especially if you're from a humble family like we are.
Yeah, no, I was ignorant to what it was. I thought I could, once I graduated and if I made the Olympic team, I was going to be good and I was going to have a lot of money to be able to have a house and buy my mom a house and do all those kind of things. And that's not the case. It's not the case at all. And like you said, the world champion only made $70,000. It's really a travesty. I think that I don't think that the athletes get paid really what
Yeah.
they're worth. And if you think about it, if let's just take the Olympics for example. If I compete, let's just say I trained for 4 years. So from 2000 to 2004, let's say I trained those 4 years, and then let's say I get the Olympic gold, right? Whatever that's worth. The U.S. I think pays 25,000 for first. Don't quote me on that, but
Yeah.
it's no more than 50,000.
Yeah.
At the most. Let's just say. So you're telling me, or let's just say it's 50,000. I don't think it's that high, but let's just say it's 50,000. You're telling me over 4 years, break $50,000 up over 4 years. How much money is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's not a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking poverty level. The average American makes, I mean, nowadays they make 46, $50,000, $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's not even that. We're talking about 1 year.
It's a travesty.
It's a travesty. And so I think there's some people out there that are running the competitions that really should step up and pay the athletes what they're worth.
Yeah, we without talking about it too much. There's a lot of stuff going on now with the Grand Slam, and it's crazy. It's difficult. It's difficult to
Right.
build a business, but it's a real shame. What now? I want to talk about how you go from college.
Hold on, Paul.
Yeah,
But let me say this though, is like I said, I didn't know coming in, and then it wasn't until later on that I started figuring out that it was like, yo, I'm still working hard to try to pay my bills, and I'm one of the top athletes in the nation. Like even those years that I was doing really well, like the other years I didn't do well every year. I had a 20-year career. I competed from 16 years old to 36 years old,
yeah,
and then I became professional at 22 years old. So from 22 to 36, like maybe I had 5 good years in there.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Let's just say I had 5 good years from, let me see, that's about 15 years.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's just say. And so that's not enough to be able to to compete that long. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize that until like later, and as I started finding out, like, wait a minute, how much money do we get? We start wait,
No,
that's all, and I'm working this hard to try to win this Diamond League meet, and that's all. Oh man, this is gonna be
that's
like, but I
but
had the
that's
love for
why
it, and I was already in it at that point in time. It's like
it's
this is what I'm
It's
doing.
well, I talk about it being a labor of love. I had Roger Black on the show, and he said he really wasn't a labor of love. He was very good at it. But why I say that is because you fall in love with it, and the pay, unless you're Usain Bolt, the payout
Right.
isn't going to be great. So in my
Yeah.
mind, it is a labor of love in that sense because you're
Yeah.
doing this because you love it. You're great at it. You're pursuing glory. But
Right.
it's hard, especially being an athlete, because there's a finite window of time. And
Yes.
when you were doing it, there wasn't social media, so you didn't have the
Right.
outreach that athletes have now.
Right.
Now,
And for
what?
me, it was also thinking about, okay, if I have that Olympian on my name, if I go to work corporate, because I wasn't sure about acting at that point in time, but if I want to go work corporate, at least they might say, okay,
Yeah.
might open up a door for me. This guy's an Olympian. We're going to start him probably a little bit higher than maybe at the very bottom, but maybe he gets his foot in the door kind of a thing. So
For
I
sure.
was thinking about those kind of things that people can look at my track record and career and say, oh, this guy knows hard work. This guy knows dedication. He was one of the best in the world. Let's get him into his company and see what he can do. And
Yeah.
I do take those, saying that, I do take what I've learned from track and field into my life now,
Yeah.
whether it becomes hard work, dedication, knowing it's going to take 5, 10, 15 years to really be successful at something. I know that because I've done that. That's the formula for success. You want to be successful, you want to be great at something, work hard at it, put the time in it, never give up, keep learning as much as you can, and you have an opportunity to be successful at it. You just got to keep going after it. You can never quit, because once you quit, then you lose the game.
100%.
So,
No, I find it fascinating. And look, the fact that you said track record, people don't think about where the saying comes from. It comes from track. And the other thing is, when I speak to athletes, people overlook this, is you've got global international experience because you've competed around the world. It's completely different. Let's fast forward to becoming the American champion, not once but 4 times. So how was that jump in, level for you?
Yeah, so it's funny, I just told this story not too long ago. So my first national championship was interesting. And the second one was the Olympic trials in 2004. So I won my first national championship in 2003. I was like starting to kind of build and get back to where I was at when I left college. And maybe 2 months before the national championships that year, my girlfriend, who I had been dating at the time, had cheated on me. And so I was like, I was devastated. I was devastated. And so from like May till the end of June, I was like just wallowing. But I put everything that I had into track. Like, it was no longer about the relationship anymore. I was losing weight. I was depressed. I was losing sleep and stuff. But I was like, just going to work hard in track and just stay focused on track. And so when I went into the nationals that year, I was like, my goal is to jump 230 on my first attempt and see where I'm at. See whether I win, lose, draw. If I jump 230 on my first attempt, I'll be happy. That happened to win the competition.
Crazy.
And and it was interesting. I'll tell you a funny story there. So as I'm competing, I'm really quiet and I'm really focused, and I'm clearing bars on my first attempt, like 215, 220, and then I think we go to like, I don't know, 24 or something like that. And one of the other jumpers, I guess he's watching. I'm not really focused on anybody else. He jumps 224, but like a mile. And then he's like, yeah, he's excited. And he comes up to me and he's like, told you I'm getting your ass today, Jamie. Forgive me, guys, for cussing.
No, go for it.
And he's like bumping into me. I was like,
oh, you got a bit of smack talk, yeah?
yeah. And I was like, not ready for what I got today. That's all I said, just really calm,
Yeah.
And then I went and I cleared the 226 or 7 or whatever it was. And then we go to 230. Those guys missed. First attempt, banged it.
Bang.
Yeah. And it was like the whole field shut down. Everybody was like, all right, I guess this is a done day.
I love it.
It was a fun first national championship. It was a little bittersweet because I had the fallout of my ex-girlfriend, but then I won my first national championship. And then the next year, which was 2004, I made my first Olympic team, which was in Sacramento. So I went out for the Olympic trials in 2000, which was in Sacramento, and then they came back again in 2004. So I thought if I had any chance to make an Olympic team, it's gonna be in 2004, because I knew I was ready. And I have never. I was telling my wife this the other day. There's only 3 times in my career where I saw a person have crowd control that was unmatched and unparalleled, right?
Really?
Yes, there was only 3 times. One time was when I was at the 2004 Olympic Games, the Greek girl, when she was running the 400 hurdles.
Yeah.
The crowd was deafening. It was so loud in the stadium. I couldn't hear myself think. I was like, this is crazy.
Amazing, yeah.
And then the other time was Félix Sánchez. I was in the Dominican for the Pan Am Games.
Yeah.
And when he walked out onto the track, it was like, Félix, Félix. I was like, wow, wow, this is great. Like he just had, and he was walking across the track, and I was getting ready to jump. So he was about to cross right in front of me. And I told him to hold on for a second. And then he put his hand up, and then everybody got quiet. I was like, wow.
Wow.
It was amazing. Yeah. And then the other time was myself when I was in Sacramento. I saw a high jumper. You know, we get the crowd clapping a little bit as we get to jump, and he got the crowd clapping a little bit. And then when I got up and I started to get the crowd to clap, it was like, and they were like, "And this is Jamie Nieto, your hometown favorite." And I was like, "Whoa!"
Wow.
And it was a lot of energy, and it was very exciting. And so that, to this day, was probably the highlight to my career.
Really?
Of competitions that I went to.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot. There's other meets that I went to that had like special moments and stuff, but you know, making your first Olympic team in front of your home crowd, in front of your friends and family, and then to jump a personal best. I jumped 233 that day. I couldn't ask for anything more. And then, obviously, as we spoke about, come back to the Olympics, you know, a month later in Athens, and then jump 234, another personal best.
Crazy.
So
What an amazing year.
yeah, it was. You know, I tell people, you know, less than 1% of Americans become Olympians. Less than 1% of Olympians do their personal best at the Olympic Games. Now, I've done both.
That's what we were talking about earlier. It's funny.
Right.
Do you think that literally boils down to the pressure, the travel, the rounds? There's so many complexities to it, but you know, is it ultimately the pressure?
Um, you know, I don't know. I always felt like I was a big beat jumper. I just always felt like that. Like when it came to the championships, that's where it's like, all right, let's go. Let's have some fun. I'm about to, you know, come out here and
Yeah.
destroy, you know, like that was my mentality. And if you don't have that mentality,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the average, most people will jump their average of the season at the Olympic Games. So if I was averaging, you know, say 228 the whole year, more than
Yeah.
likely when I come to Olympic Games, I'm going to jump 228. If I have a good day, I'll probably jump 230. You
Yeah.
know, if I have a great day, maybe I jump 32. But to jump a personal best is like,
It's amazing.
it's an amazing day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's how most athletes are. You know, they're if Ryan Benjamin runs 46 in his opening meet, and then he comes back at the Olympic Games and runs 46. He was running 46 all year, anyways.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
very surprising that he's going to at least run 46. You know,
Exactly.
and if he has a great day, he might run 45. You know
Well,
what I mean?
I think for you, you fed off the crowd as well. Because why I fell in
Oh
love
yeah,
with watching you was you're a showman, right? So
yeah,
you
yeah.
get the crowd going like no one else.
Yeah, I always had a lot of fun, and I really looked at it like this is entertainment. I'm out here to have fun. I'm out here to put on a show. So give the people what they want. Like, I looked at some athletes that didn't do that, and they were just very much into themselves, very much internal. I was like, why not just have fun? At least slap some hands, sign some autographs, kiss some
Yeah.
babies, like just
Yeah.
so it
Enjoy
was
it.
fun for me. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But then that now translates to me. Maybe I just always was a showman because now, I'm doing more acting and writing and producing. So that was probably always in
Well,
my blood
well,
anyway.
you're a Renaissance man, and I want to come back to the Olympics, but I do want to talk about how important Sacramento is because when I was doing research for the show, I didn't know this that your beautiful wife Shevon, she I think did a personal best in Sacramento.
Oh,
You should
probably.
know that, Jamie. You should
Yeah,
know
I
that.
should have.
I
I
wrote
should have.
down. I wrote this down. We can verify later that she ran 54:47 in Sacramento, and I just thought if that's real, that just holds a lot of meaning to how special that place is for both of you, right?
Yeah, yeah. She did it at the NCAAs, right?
Yeah.
That was, yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it was a great track. It was a great track,
Well,
great
well,
place,
talking about this, so I told you off camera I was a fan of yours, and after you retired, I kind of lost contact with what you were doing, and I was watching America's Got Talent recently, and there was a retake of her episode where she sang, and it
Yeah,
brought me to tears. And
yeah.
what an amazing woman she is, and what an amazing couple you are.
Thank you.
How did you guys initially meet?
Okay. So in 2010, I was auditioning for a commercial. And I remember as I was leaving, I saw her like stretching, and I was thinking, I think she runs track. I feel like I've seen her before, but I didn't know who she was. So I
Yeah.
said hi, and was trying to be friendly, and she didn't kind of seem to kind of give me the cold shoulder kind of a thing. And I was like, all right, well, hey, well, good luck, And so later now, when we talk about it, she's like, I was just focused on getting the commercial. And I was like, well, you got the commercial, so I guess I should have been more focused too. But so that was when we first met, and then 2 years later in 2012, I was doing a web series, and I was raising fund. I was doing crowdfunding. I was raising money for the crowdfunding to shoot this thing. And so I was sending out messages to all my friends on Facebook, and she happened to be one of my friends, and she wanted to donate. She saw maybe a little clip of something that I did, some kind of promo thing. She was like, "Oh, this is really good," and it piqued her interest. She had seen me before. She had actually seen me in 2004 at the Olympic trials when I won, and she said she never had paid attention to the infield. It was always about racing and the track, the sprints.
Yeah.
But she said she's seen this guy, running through the field, ripping off his shirt, doing backflips. And she was like, who is this guy? So she seen me and clocked who I was first before I kind of seen her. And so anyways, fast forward to 2012, she donated some money. And then later that year, I had like a new trailer for the show that I was creating. And I saw her in Martinique. And I was like, oh, let me go talk to her and show her. I'm like, I didn't just take your money. I actually did something with it. So I showed her the trailer, and she was like, yo, this is amazing. Have you showed everybody? And I was like, well, no, I just kind of want to show. And then she like ran off with my phone and started showing everybody like, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this? It's so
Classic.
cool, right? Yeah, so I was like, oh, well, okay, thanks. And then the next meet we went to was in Jamaica. And so I had seen her at lunch or whatever, talked to her a little bit. And then at the track after the competition, we were sitting down talking. I was waiting for my award or whatever. And I said, hey, what meet are you going to next? And she said, I'm going to meet in UCLA. I said, me too. I said, maybe afterwards we can go get lunch. And she said, yes. And we've been together ever since.
Beautiful. What a story. And I showed my wife and my daughters her audition with America's Got Talent, and let me tell you, they were all in bits. They were all in bits. They were all in tears. Yeah, I won't get you started.
Good luck. We're rooting for you.
Thank you. Through the good and the bad, through the good and the bad, all I ever needed was you. I hold your hand and do anything I can do to give you all of me. Through the good and the bad. Now we stand here together 'cause we made it. Built a love that will last. Yeah. And if the times get too tough, you know we'll make it. Through the good and the bad. The good and the bad. Through the years that we had together, built a love that will last forever.
Very good.
Very good.
Thank you.
Now, I want to go back to mentality. Like, how did you prepare yourself physically and mentally, and how did those two come together, performing at the highest stage, at the Olympics? Because, that's what we all dream of doing, but you've done it.
Yeah, it just depends on the time you're talking about. At the Olympics in 2004, after I had made the Olympic team, for me, it was like, I'm here. Like my whole goal was just to make the Olympic team.
Yeah.
I knew I still wanted to go there and then obviously try to get a medal. But it was like, it's time to have fun now. I mean, like I did everything I needed to do. I'm at the final meet. Like, what? Nowhere else to go after this. So I was like, all right, let's have fun here. So I felt like there was no weight on my shoulders when I went to the Olympics in 2004 at all. So mentally, I was excited to be there, and I wanted to go there and have fun and try to get a medal.
Yeah.
Which which, you know, like obviously I competed at the best I could. And it was very bittersweet for me, you know, to like just miss the medal, you know,
Yeah.
jumping 234, second, third, and fourth place all jumped the same height. Those guys did it on their first attempt. I did it on my second attempt. And then Stephon Holm comes back around for 236.
Yeah.
Because he did it on his third attempt and clears 236 on his first attempt. Oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
so like I was really kind of hurt after the Olympic Games because I felt like I should have got a medal.
You're
And
so close.
I was really close, right? So it took me some years to like really bounce back from that. I kind of fell in a little bit of a post-Olympic depression. And so I saw some sports psychologists and they helped me to realize that day that I didn't lose. You went there and you did the best you could do.
Absolutely.
There was nothing else more that you could have done. And in my mind, I'm like, I was so close to 236. I just barely brushed 236. I should have made it, you know, and that would have gotten me a medal. But, you know, at the end of the day, like I did everything I could do, you know, and I remember when I walked off the track, I was like, I had nothing left. I was like physically, mentally, spiritually drained. I had given everything I got.
100%. Yeah.
So after those couple of years, you know, of 04, and I started seeing the sports psychologist, and he helped me to realize that. Then things started to get better. I could kind of like get past it and let that weight off my shoulders. And in 2008, I missed out on Olympic team, which is a whole nother story. But since you specifically asked about the Olympics, I'll stay on this topic. And then 2012, I come back. Now I'm 35 years old, and it's like, do I really believe that I can make another Olympic team? No Americans ever made an Olympic team at 35 years old. Male high jumper, females have, but no male high jumpers done it. The closest person I seen to do it was Charles Austin, and that was in 2004. He was 35 years old. He just barely missed 230 that day, which would have put him on the team. So I was like, you know, and I hadn't jumped. That year, the new A standard was 231, which was the highest it had ever been at that point in time.
Crazy.
So I'm like, yeah. So and I had missed out the Olympic team in 2008 because I didn't get the Olympic A standard in time. So in 2008, they came up with this rule: if you don't have the A standard by the Olympic trials, you're not going to make the team.
By the way, I want to speak on that because, you know, what I've always felt terrible about American athletes is you have to peak twice in a very short period of time, because arguably the US trials are more competitive than the Olympics in many ways, right?
Yeah. And so in 2008, the standard was 230. And maybe at the beginning of June, they sent out an email saying, hey, if you don't have the standard, then you can't make the team. So I'm like, great. What is it? One, maybe two meets I can go to really try to get the standard. If not, then I have to do it at the Olympic trials. So I go to the Olympic trials, I get second. So, you know, there's two criteria: get the A standard and then place in the top three. Well, that's part of the hardest part, is getting in the top three at the Olympic trials.
Yeah.
I get second and I jump 227, just missed 230. I think 6 days later, I go to a meet in Ireland and I jump 230. So then I go into arbitration, right? Because I'm like, yo, I should be on the team. The rest of the world has till July 25th or 26th or something like that. Why can't we still have that time? We've been having that time.
Yeah.
Like you guys just and they couldn't come up with any viable excuse. But needless to say, I ended up losing my arbitration. And that year I was dating a girl from England, and she had made an Olympic team. So I stayed in London, and I was like, well, what am I going to do for these couple of weeks? So I decided to take an acting class. And that's kind of when I really
that started. All right, we'll come back to that. I just
let me go back to the 2012, and I'll tell you my mind state for that. So 2012 London comes around, thinking like, am I going to be able to make this team? I don't know. I didn't halfway believe I could, or so I started doing a lot of visualization, which I had been doing in the past, but started really early.
Was the psychologist helping you with that?
Okay. Yes. And so every time I was doing my visualization, I would see myself on the podium. And for the first month, I would see myself on the second or third place podium. And I was like, man, after that first month, I was like, why do I keep seeing myself on the second or third? What is it going to hurt me to see myself on the first place podium? And I was like, nothing. So why not see yourself on the first place podium? Okay, cool. So then I started seeing myself on the first place podium every night for like 15 minutes. I'm running through the whole competition in my mind. Rain, wind, sun, everything I can think of, misses, makes, like everything I can think of. I'm just running the competition. I know what Eugene looks like. I know what the competition. Just kept running. And every time I won the competition in my mind. So we, again, I'm still trying to get this A standard. So I go to all these meets, and then I have this epiphany, like, what's stopping you from jumping 231 your first meet? What's stopping you from jumping 231 any meet?
Yeah.
And I was like, because I always felt like for me to jump 231 or higher or something like that, it had to be a great competition. It had to be sunny outside. It had to be all these factors, And I was like, that doesn't really matter. If you're in good shape and you're ready to jump 231, you're ready to jump 231 no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. So every meet I decided I'm going to start jumping at 231. So I would jump like 224 and then skip and go straight to 231. So every meet all the way till June, we get to 13 meets later, I get to this meet in New York, and some meets I'm close to 231, some meets I don't have a chance in heck to clear 231. Well, I get to this meet in New York 2 weeks before the Olympic trials and jump 231 in my first attempt. And I was like, and I knew if I cleared that A standard, my chances of making the Olympic team is going to go from 50-50 to probably about 90-10. Like,
and you've put the pressure on everyone. It's like you put an ace down straight away.
Yep. So even though it was right before the Olympic trials, I'm letting you know I'm ready. I'm coming in here ready. So, but still, I'm still competing against guys who are 10, 12 years younger than me at that point in time. I was 35. This guy's 22 that I'm competing against, So that was my mind frame that year. And I told myself every day, I'm going to jump and clear 231 this year. I'm going to jump and clear 231 this year. That's my mantra. I just kept saying it over and over again. So this is what I tell people whenever I do public speaking is like, you might not believe what it is that you want to achieve at first, but it's just like a little kid. If a little kid is growing up and you tell him his whole life, you're not smart, he's going to believe when he gets older, he's not smart. But if I tell 100%. Him every day of his whole life he's smart, it's more likely going to believe he's smart. So what if you tell yourself, I'm a certain way? What if you tell yourself and you're working towards getting to those goals, even though you might not 100% believe it, eventually you will.
Yeah. And
eventually I did. And I got to the Olympic trials that year, and I ended up winning the Olympic trials and being on the first place podium, beating these other young guys, So powerful. And then I made it to the Olympic Games, and I get 5th at the Olympic Games. And I remember I go to the mix zone, and the BBC reporter stopped me, and she says, "Jamie, you're like the happiest guy to not get a medal. Like, why is that?" And I had jumped 229. Well, I had jumped 231 that year. So I'm like, I jumped almost as high as I've jumped this whole season. Like, I came out here and I won. I did the best I can do. I didn't jump 35, but I jumped the best I can do at this point in time. My season's best was 231. I jumped 229. As close as I can get to it, that's not too bad. So I was really happy. And so my whole mind frame was different in 2012. I was a lot happier. Yeah. And when I left the Olympic Games at that point in time, I had no post-Olympic depression at that point in time. I was ready to go the next year. I just happened to have an injury that I dealt with.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
As an athlete, you're so hard on yourself because you're trying to get onto the podium. But let's put this into context. You came 5th in the world.
Right.
That changes everything, right? If you're a teacher, you're a banker or a lawyer, it's difficult to say you're the best in the company. To say you're the 5th best, the 4th best in the world is amazing.
Well, I like to say I'm an unofficial bronze medalist because in 2012, first place was Eric Kennard. He jumped 233. Second place, it was a 3-way tie. It was Mutaz, the guy from Canada, and Rivalry. Right? Yeah. And then I was the next person down. Yeah. That's 3rd place. That's not 5th place. It's 3rd place. Like,
I love that.
Why there should, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason there should be a 4th and 5th with nobody, nothing. Or 3rd, 4th, and 5th for nothing. So I feel like I'm an unofficial bronze medalist.
I love it. I wanted to ask you, when Barshim and the Italian high jumper shared the gold medal.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? Because it was such a, what would you have done if you were in that position? I'm curious.
I'd have did the same thing.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. It was a beautiful moment in the Olympics. And anybody who thinks that it wasn't. I'm sorry, they're not. I don't know. I understand that certain people are like, I never did that. I'm gonna fight to the end. And it was like, so you would rather risk being a silver medalist than a for sure gold medalist?
Yeah.
Like, just because you tie with somebody, you're still gonna get gold medalist perks. At the end of the day, you're always gonna be a gold medalist. Now you're risking to be a silver medalist. Now it could be a pessimistic way to think about it, but I would rather go with a bird in the hand than one in the bush than two in the bush.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would have did it. And so even the next year when I saw Shelby and the other guy from New Zealand,
We'll come
when
back
those
to me.
when those guys did Hamish, when those guys did it, I was like, yo, what are you doing? Like, no, don't keep jumping. Like, so but if one athlete says they want to keep jumping, then you have to keep jumping. So I don't know who decided to make that decision. If they both did, I don't know, but I felt like they should have just went with the tie themselves, because you both would have been Olympic gold medalists,
It is interesting, because then also what I loved about that, there was not a long discussion, wasn't a boardroom discussion. Whatever they said, they were so happy. It was one of those most beautiful moments in history.
Beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought so too.
Talk to me about what happened in 2006 and your horrific accident, because that changed everything for you. 2016, sorry.
16, yeah. So as I kind of mentioned before, I was a showman. After a competition, I do a backflip and bow and those kind of things, and so in 2013, I retired. I was coaching, doing some post-collegiate coaching as well as some collegiate coaching. Didn't realize I didn't want to do collegiate coaching, just wanted to stick with post-collegiate coaching. And so this day in April, we're working out. And I was still working out, keeping in shape. I wasn't competing anymore, but I still like to stay fit. And we were doing some drills, and then we pulled off to the side, and we were doing some somersaults on the side. And I did one, and I recorded it, and I was like, yeah, that was great, and then I decided, I was like, let me try one more, because I think I could do it a little bit cleaner or whatever. And so I remember I was on AstroTurf, and I was just kind of bouncing there, and then I pushed up, and something happened, something like not right, and my foot kind of slipped, and so my feet kind of like splayed in the air, and I was like, oh shoot, what happened? And as I went from my feet, I ended up going to my head, and then my body just toppled over the rest of myself. And I was like laying there, and my life kind of like passed before my eyes in a sense. But the first thing I heard was, don't worry, you just got to go through this. You're going to be all right. And I was like, what? And then the thoughts and the images started just like flashing in my head. People who were in wheelchairs, people who broke their neck and came back, my life, just so many things. And it was happening so fast. And then one of the athletes came into view, and I told him, I said, call 911. I've been hurt really bad. And they did. And I ended up getting airlifted out of there to the hospital, got the x-rays, come to find out that the disc between C3 and C4 slipped and bruised the spinal cord, and I was paralyzed from the chest down. I had no movement. So, that was tough to hear. That was a life-changing experience. And, it's one of those things where it's like, what is your life going to be like now? And luckily I had a great support system. First and foremost, God, God told me I felt like that was God telling me, don't worry, you just got to go through this. You're going to be all right. I felt like that was God telling me that. So when I was in the hospital, the doctor was like, he might regain 30% functionality back. Nah, God said, I'm going to get 100% functionality back. And so she was like, oh, that's good to be optimistic kind of a thing. So, I go back to thinking in my mind, like the things that it took for me to be a great athlete. And like I told you before, it's 1% of Americans become Olympians. Less than 1% of Olympians do their personal best at the Olympic Games. I've done both. What makes me think I can't do this? What makes me think I can't walk again? What makes me think? So
100%.
That was my goal after kind of finding that out. And I'm still on that journey. And, knowing like how long it took me to be great at track and field, it might take me that long to be great and walking and running again, but I'm going to get there, and I'm not going to give up.
So did they say that you were never going to walk again and you couldn't have children? What was the prognosis?
they said that I probably would get about 30% functionality back. They didn't really say anything about children.
Well, you know, you got married, you walked down the aisle, you
Yeah.
got two beautiful kids now, and
Yes.
it brings us to the next chapter that you're living, which this is what makes you a true Renaissance man. And that's why I'm so happy we're talking. When did you fall in love with writing, acting, producing? When did this journey begin for you?
Yeah. So I kind of briefly talked about it in 2008. I didn't make the Olympic team, and I took an acting class in London and just fell in love with it. And so when I came back home to San Diego, where I was living at the time, I found an acting class, and I found one that I really liked. And the acting teacher, he was a working actor, and he always said, "Hey, if you want to be, if you really want to have a career in this business, learn to write." And I had actually already written a screenplay that year, just because I was in Kansas for a little while training with my coach, and I was just
But before he said that, you'd already written something.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. It was horrible, but
doesn't matter. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, so I had already written a screenplay, and then so at that point in time, because he was always like, Hollywood might not always see the things that you're actually talented at. So if you're able to write, you can write yourself in the roles that you can do. So I was like, it sounds like a good idea, and I've already kind of started doing it anyways. I like telling stories, so it kind of all started around that time, 2007, 2008, or 2008. So and then I just stayed in the acting class all the way up until I retired from track and field, because I wanted to be able to have something to like smoothly transition out of,
Yeah.
And so at least I had a little.
Were you doing? Sorry to interrupt. There was a time delay. Were you doing like traditional method acting, Stanislavski? Was it the full works?
Yeah. No, so my teacher learned from Stella Adler.
Okay.
Like his actual teacher was Stella Adler.
Wow.
So I learned about Stanislavski and method acting and how the actors studio broke up and all that. Like I learned all that. We did Shakespeare in his class. We did cold reads. We did plays. Wow. We did I literally was in his class for 6 years or something like that. So,
wow. I didn't know that. So you've worked at your craft.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like that's my training. I had this conversation one time with this lady. It was when I was competing, and she was I think she was a manager for some actors or whatever. And I said, yeah, I think one day I could be as great as Denzel. And she was like, why would you say that? She's like, have you ever trained? Have you ever like taken a class? And I was like, no. She was like, imagine if a guy came out here and said, hey, I'm going to beat you in high jumping today.
Yeah.
And he's never trained, never even been on the high jump paper, but thinks that he can come out here and beat you on it. And so that like opened my mind to it. So I was like, well, okay, if I want to be that great one day, I probably need to train.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what.
But to add to that, it was quite funny. I was watching a bit of Jeremy Piven, who played Ari Gold.
Of course.
Is an excerpt from his stand-up comedy show, and in the comedy show, he goes, "Who is the highest-paid actor in the world today?" And someone said The Rock, and he goes, "Yeah, guess what? The Rock hasn't taken any bloody acting lessons, and here's me. I've taken all these acting lessons. I've been in 80 movies, and I'm having to make ends meet, kind of thing." But no, to your point, you have to work at your craft, and I love that book by Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers, where he talks about 10,000 hours to become great at something, and I think that's 100% real. Of the TV shows that you've appeared on, and there's been quite a few now, right? I loved Raising Kanan. I mean, I watched Power. How much fun was that to get that role?
Yeah, it was great. Let me take a step back because you mentioned something. You're 100% right. Like being an actor and working in the entertainment field is a judge sport. Track and field, you work hard, you get the rewards, but not in this industry. But I always felt like if you're prepared, and that opportunity comes, you have more of a chance to succeed at it.
Love that.
Of course, there's people out there who, look at Donald Thomas. There's no knock on Donald Thomas. Donald Thomas is like, I'm a basketball player, comes out, tries to do the high jump, and actually is great at it, and comes and wins the world championship like maybe 2 years later or something like that, right? That can happen. That can happen in this industry. You can do one movie, and now you're getting an Oscar, and you can be, big. And you've never trained in your life. I get it. that happens. But a lot of times, I don't think those people really last that long. You know, now, not to say nothing against The Rock. The Rock has been in it, but I think he has been training. I don't think maybe just because he hasn't taken acting classes, but when he was wrestling, there's a lot of acting. There's a lot of training ground there.
For sure.
So I think, you know, The Rock is a great actor. I love Jeremy Piven as well, and I understand his point. But but back to your question, with raising Kanan, that was so fun. I had such a good time, and it was great to work with those actors as well. When I got out there, I felt like one of the first scenes I did. Well, I did the scene with the main star, Makai. He's the guy who plays Kanan. And he was just kind of running by me and hopping on this elevator, right? And I just had like a couple of words like, hey, man, hold the elevator for me, right? As I'm kind of rolling by in my wheelchair, and he ends up missing it, and I end up missing the elevator. I'm like, great, right? So then the next scene, which was the more meteor scene, was with London, who plays Uncle Marvin, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd already been kind of like working at this production company called Harvest Studios. And he does a lot, and out of Harvest Studios, they do a lot of sitcoms and stuff like that. So I've been working there for a few years now at this point in time. So I've seen actors come in, I see what they do. I've seen like why some are really good, why some are not as good. Some do great, some don't. So I'm watching, and he, the guy who owns the studios, he directed as well. And he would always say, all right, do the first 2 takes as scripted, as on the books, right?
Okay.
And then after that, have fun, do whatever you want to do. You know, I still need the words, but if you want to add and improv and do whatever else,
run with it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Love
it. And even he doesn't even need the words 100%. Like if you switch a joke or something like that, go for it. You know, so okay. Yeah. So that's always been in my mind. So as I'm in this scene with London, that's in my mind. I'm like, okay, do these first 2 takes scripted and then give him something different.
Is this the scene in the hallway where you're confronting him?
Yo, your customers are pissing in the stairwell and smoking up in the elevator. Not that there's never any room for me in that shit anyway with all your people going in and out.
I'll look into it.
You don't need to look into it. I just told you what the fuck it is.
Yo, step off or roll off or whatever the fuck it is you do, nigga, because you mad close on me right now.
Fuck you.
Look, everybody getting a little something for their patience and accommodations. You took our money, you know our deal.
Your money ain't nearly enough to cover me waiting on the elevator for 45 minutes every day because that motherfucker always too crowded. All right?
Yo, wanna say it again. You need to back the fuck up.
You serious? You think I'm scared of you, nigga? I got shot 7 times and I'm still putting fools on their back. Be the next nigga.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I had some really good improvs in there, you know, and it was the stuff that I had kind of came up with that I was coming in with. So I did the first 2 scenes scripted, or first 2 takes scripted, and then they were like, all right, cool, we got those. Let's just have some fun with it. And so when they said that, I was like, all right, cool. And I had all these different jokes that I was gonna say to him, because I think and one of the jokes, it didn't make the cut, but it was like one of them. I was like, I called him like what was the thing I called him? Nino Brown lookalike or something like that. Like I was like, and it was like everyone. And then so after that take, the director comes out. She was like, "Oh my God, that was great! I love it. Do that again." You know, I was like, "All right, great." So I think when I went in there, they were thinking like, "Okay, he can do the lines and he can, but he's in a wheelchair. He's probably not that great." That's kind of how I felt like. They're probably he'll probably be all right. But then when I started giving him stuff and I started playing with London, and I was like, yo, man, you want to get knocked out next? You know, like that was like improv stuff, you know, it was like nothing. And he was like, and then he started improvising with me. So we were having fun with it, you know.
Yeah.
And when we got to the door to get on the elevator, and I was like, well, I never said my name in the dialogue, so I'm gonna say my name here. So that was like, Demo, fool, you better recognize, you know, like, and then I got on the elevator, right? And so they loved it. That stuck. So a lot of those improv moments.
Well, the thing is, because you're such a nice guy, but in that scene, are you talking about the scene where you say, "I've been shot 7 times"?
Yeah.
You know, I'm still putting mofos on the floor. You know, and the bit that I loved about that was, I think you said, "You want to be the next man."
Yeah.
That,
Be the next.
be the next
That's what I
man. That
said.
was it.
Be the next man. Yeah. That was the improv. That was one of the improv lines that I just added. Yeah.
Because in that moment you could like in real life, if he's faced with that, he's in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, for sure.
You
I
know?
knew that going in. I knew that.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing I thought, because if he beats me up or he kills me, it's like, well, you killed the guy in the wheelchair. Like,
Exactly.
who cares? And then if I beat him up, you got beat up by the guy in the wheelchair. So it's a lose-lose situation, you know? So I was just having fun with it, you know, and London was gracious. He was, you know, he was fun to work with. And then, you know, it was great that the director loved what I was doing and allowed me to go out there and have fun. And yeah, I ended up doing like, you know, 2 episodes that season and then another 3 the next season. So it was a blast.
You know, when Power first came on, because I live in Singapore, I had to download it on Apple, and I just thought Omari Hardwick in those first couple of seasons, this guy is everything. He's in great shape. He's good looking. He's got the suits. And I hadn't seen him in anything before, and he blew me away. I just thought he was outstanding. And those first couple of seasons, they were just perfectly scripted for him. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he was amazing.
Yeah, he was great. The other thing is, you've worked with Hilary Swank, right? Who is an amazing actress, really is. How was that experience? Because you also was it Josh Charles, who's one of my wife's favorite actors? From The Good Wife. He's a great actor too, right?
Yeah. Josh was super cool. He was super cool. So the majority of I met Hilary just being able to go on set and watch some of the other takes and stuff. I didn't actually have any scenes with Hilary, but she was really nice as well. But me and Josh really got a chance to play. And that was really one of my first major roles. I was nervous. Like I was like Olympic trials nervous going to the set. I was like,
I bet.
Like I'm about to do this scene with Josh Charles. Like,
but you nailed it. You nailed it.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. But you know, preparation. I knew my lines 100%, backwards and forwards, and I was ready to go. And I was not going to let this opportunity pass me by. And I didn't want to get out there because it's bigger than me. You know what I mean? It's bigger than a guy in a wheelchair, because if this guy in the wheelchair does bad, can we really hire another guy in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's bigger than me. So I got to go out there and almost do, you know, twice as good. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be great as I can make it. You know, that's how I think about it. You know, so you know, when I was in the scene with Josh Charles, I'm not afraid. I was nervous coming to the set, but once I started acting, it's like I was running on the runway, getting ready to jump. You know,
guys like that, because he's been in so many different things, and you know what I find is it's funny because you're such a nice guy, but you couldn't play menace. And and he's that's probably more fun, right? He's one of those guys that's played both as well. But so I thought that scene was very powerful. Now talk to me about some of the projects that you're working on, because talk about, you're going into the 2nd season of Barber.
Cut to it. So I'm also a producer, and so I created the show. Me and a partner, a friend of mine, his name is Jeff Peterson. He came up with this idea, like, hey, it'd be great to just, you know, have this barbershop talk show where guys just kind of sitting around talking. And I was like, okay, well, at the time, LeBron had a show like that. So I was like, let me see what I can do to make this a little different and make it a little more fun and jovial. And so one of the barbers at the shop that I was going to, I knew he was an actor, but he was also a barber for 30 years. And so his name is Garrett Dixon. And so I was like, hey, Garrett, let's talk about this idea that I got, you know? And then I developed it, and then we like put some other, I keep wanting to say athletes, but put some other people around him that would help to complement him as a barber. So he didn't really have to do anything that he doesn't normally do. You know, he's cutting hair and asking people questions all day. So yeah, I thought, what better people to be the interviewers than the barbers? So yeah, I got Garrett, who is a, you know, great jovial personality. We had another guy who's a little bit more calm and subdued, but, you know, like plays the yin and yang off of Garrett. And then his name is Will. And then we wanted to have a younger perspective. So we had some guy in the, you know, cleaning up, and he's the barber apprentice. His name's David. I love it. And then we wanted to have 2 females in the barbershop so we can have a female perspective as well. So we have the receptionist and one of the other barbers. And our other barber her name is Karina, and the receptionist's name is Pierre. But Karina, she does these amazing designs. Like she'll put like the Eastern Michigan eagle in your hair. Like she can cut it all out. It'll look amazing, right? So we put this thing together. I was able to sell it to a TV network called Aspire TV. That first season, we had people like Michael Jai White on there. We had Willie Gault. We had who else? We had Bentley Kyle Evans. He's the guy who I work with at Harvard Studio. He was the showrunner for Jamie Foxx and The Martin Show. We had who else was that first season? Sean Porter, boxer.
Yeah. That's the first one that I saw, and I really enjoyed it. He let his hair down figuratively. Yeah, he enjoyed himself on that.
Yeah. Oh, so you've seen him? Okay,
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. That's the first one that I saw. I watched the others after because I'm a boxing fan, big time. So I'd seen that, and I didn't know you were behind it.
Yeah. So it's funny. My relationship with another track athlete was his coach, Larry Wade. So I've known Larry Wade. Larry is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
From her. Well, he coaches. He actually works with what's the guy's name? He just fought Tyson. Who's the guy who just fought Tyson?
Jake Paul. Is it?
Jake Paul.
No,
He works with Jake Paul. Yeah. So
you know what? It's such a small community because I haven't released it yet. The podcast with a guy called Stitch, who's a corner man, a cut man, and he was in Tyson's corner for that fight.
Okay.
Larry Wade was he was a great hurdler.
Yeah. So yeah, Larry's their coach and stuff. So he hooked me up with Sean, and we got Sean in for the show.
You know why that show puts a smile on my face? So I grew up in London, and there was a West Indies show in the 80s called Desmond's, and it's all around a barber shop. I'll send you the link later, but it's West Indians in the heart of London. There's a lot of smack talk. It's about a family that run it, and it's now there's been kind of different variations of it, but it kind of brings it home to that. And it's also like Eddie Murphy. I forget which movie it was where he's playing all the different barber.
Coming to America.
Yeah, there you go. It was that. You know what I mean? Which I absolutely loved.
Well, the difference between probably Desmond's and Coming to America, that's scripted. This is all unscripted. They're just off the cuff.
It's real. It's off the cuff.
It's real. So and then we just filmed the second season this year, which we had some more great, amazing guests. We had let's say Sean Porter again, Chris Paul, NBA star. We had Rampage Jackson.
Oh, I love Rampage.
Yeah, Rampage, great. They gave great interviews. Everybody gave great interviews. Russell Peters, the comedian.
Brilliant.
Who else do we have? We had another comedian. Ron G. He's a comedian, works a lot.
How do you reach out to these guys? How do you get the connect?
I know a lot of them.
Wow.
So working at remember I said I worked at Harvard Studios.
Yeah.
So a lot of actors and writers and people come through the studios, and I'm a punch-up writer there too. So I've written scripts, but I also punch up. So a lot of times what a punch-up writer does is I'll watch a scene and case in point. So Omar Gooding, he's Cuba Gooding's brother. Yeah. He was a star of one of the shows that I was doing. And as the punch-up writer, he came up to me. He was like, there was this scene about like his whole family kept getting sick, and they went to his daughter's room, and she's like, I need a new TV while I'm sick, right? And he's like, I need a joke right here, like right after this. And there was nothing there for him to say. I think the thing he said was like, well, why do I always gotta, keep forking out money every time somebody gets sick or something like that. That kind of was my joke. I don't know if it was exactly that. So he came to me, asked me, and I was like, well, what if you said something like, how come every time somebody gets sick in this house, my pockets start throwing up, right? And so that's what a punch-up writer does. And so after that joke kind of goes a couple times, maybe I'll put in a different joke, right there. So I'll watch the scene and add jokes. So I ended up kind of creating a bond and a relationship with some of these actors and that come through there. And I just kind of kept in contact with them. I've worked with them the whole season, so 10 episodes or whatever. And so
there's a lot of skill in that, a lot of pressure, because writing something that's funny on the spot, that's not easy, man.
It's not in it, but it's instantly gratifying. And it took some time. I would say probably by my third year, I was good at it. Like it's still, like comedy is so subjective. And then, you work with different actors and stuff like that. And some can deliver, some can't. Some deliver a certain way, some don't, so you You got to really know, okay, can this actor handle this type of joke, or could they not handle this type of joke? Does it need to be more basic? Like like, hey, he looks like Sean Porter, and maybe that's the funny joke, but that would be something basic that I give to somebody who can't really handle a more complex joke. Whereas with Omar, I could say something like, hey, how come every time somebody gets sick in this house, my pockets start throwing up? He can say that.
Like, he's gonna run with it. Yeah.
He can run with it. He's really great at that. And there's other actors that are good at that as well, that I know when I give them a joke, oh, they're gonna take it. And some of them will take it and add to it, which is great too, and it makes me shine even more too, So it could be very tough, but it's fun. It's a challenge, it's like coming up and makes you really think and be creative, so I like that. So.
Can you talk about you're going to be starring on a show, season 19? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm excited. Are you allowed to announce it?
Yeah, I don't think that there was no problem with me announcing it, but I'll say it. I guess they'll tell me if it's not an issue.
We can always edit it post production. If you find out you can't, we can edit it out.
Right. Well, I'm not saying anything about the story, but I booked a role on Criminal Minds. So, and I'll be in season 19, episode 2. So that was an awesome experience to be able to work with those guys, such seasoned professionals and actors. And then I was able to even, my acting teacher always said, there are no small roles, only small actors, right?
I love that.
So I try to take that into consideration because I didn't have a lot of dialogue in the scene. And I try to make that scene the best I could make it with what I had. And they really appreciated that, and they really enjoyed what I did. So I was really happy about that because, again, if there's not a lot of dialogue, you can just say, have a nice day, and it's over. And in the audience mind, they're not going to remember that one guy that said have a nice day, but if it's a guy that says have a nice day, and I'll see you later. I'll see you, girl. All right, you working it? Huh? You working it? Okay. If I go into something like that, then they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
love that.
You want to make the best.
I'm just curious in terms of growing up. Who are the actors and who are the athletes? Maybe the top 3 of each that you really looked at and thought, I really admire those guys.
Yeah, athletes first. Sotomayor, Charles Austin, and maybe Schoberg, maybe Hollis, probably Hollis. Those guys. I looked at a lot of those guys from that era, and I was like, "Yo, they're killing it. That's where I want to be."
When you look back at Sotomayor now, you have to really look back and realize he was once in a generational athlete, right?
Yeah. I felt like Mutaz could have been there.
He was right.
He was right there. But
right up there.
Yeah. I mean, I think Soto could have been even better.
Yeah.
I don't think that his technique was the most efficient.
Yeah.
And he's somebody who I use as an example because everybody thinks you have to be this certain way to jump so high. And I'm like, no, you don't even really have to have great technique. But if you're confident, you're strong, and you're fast, jump high.
But it's like, that's like Oblique Seville, because he defies the odds. I think he's 5'7". His running technique's not that clean, know, but he's a special athlete. What about on the acting side and the directing side? Who are the people that you admire?
I haven't really stepped into the directing realm yet, but
mate, it's on the cards. It's going to happen, I reckon.
Probably. I studied Denzel. Studied him, studied Denzel.
How could you not?
How could you not? I mean, through those years that I was really in acting class, I mean, in the movies, certain things that you don't realize that he does, like he would have a leading gesture in his movies, and not all of them, but a lot of them,
Denzel, the thing that's often overlooked for those that don't really, watch these things or know about them, but he's a stage actor first and foremost.
Yeah.
And that's never left him. And I think that's where his art comes from.
Yeah, I think a lot of the greats were stage actors, I did some theater, not as much as I would like to, but stage acting is tough. They don't play a lot of money. It's a lot of hours. a
Yeah.
lot of work, you know. But unless you're like on Broadway, but you know, other than that, it's
I
tough.
wanted to watch him in Othello. I was thinking of flying over to New York, but then firstly the tickets were all sold out and they were phenomenally expensive. But I just thought, you know, to see him up live just once, you know,
Yeah.
it's like getting to see Usain Bolt in the Olympics. You know, it's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
very, very special. And who else?
Yes.
Who else is on the radar for you? Who else do you admire?
Let me see. I like Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy is amazing. Man,
He's
seeing
raw.
him,
He's
yeah,
raw.
seeing him in Star Trek, and then you know years later as Mad Max, I'm like, this
Yeah.
guy is a character actor. You know, he's
Yeah.
amazing. Who else? You know, Don Cheadle's amazing. I love who else? You know, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, those guys. I love those guys. Yeah.
One of my favorite lyrics from De Niro's in Heat, where he's on the
Oh, yeah.
telephone and he's speaking to a guy. He's in the kitchen, and he goes, "Forget the money." And he goes, "What do you mean, forget the money? It's a lot of money." He goes, "I'm speaking to an empty telephone." He goes, "What do you mean?" Because there's a dead man on the other end of this
Yeah.
line. I'm just
Right,
stone cold, right? I absolutely love
Right.
that. I can see you making Spike Lee type of movies.
Yeah, I like Spike as a director for sure. I love his double dolly shot. You know, so I love M. Night Shyamalan. I love that that like I'm a big like sci-fi kind of guy. I
Okay.
love Twilight Zone, Black Mirror, those type of
Black
you know,
Mirror's freaky, isn't it? It puts you at unease. You know, you can't, I won't watch that late at night because if you watch the wrong one, it's going to trip you out, right?
Yeah, yeah. Philip K. Dick is a great author. You know, he wrote Total Recall and
Yeah.
what else did he? I think it was not Blade Runner. Running Man. I think he wrote some. It might have been Blade Runner. I'm not sure, but he wrote some great sci-fi. So I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, I think you know I love Quentin Tarantino too. He's great too. You know, so
Yeah. How could you
yeah,
not? How could you
Christopher
not?
Nolan.
Well,
Yeah.
Jamie, I've got to say you're an inspiration to me and many other people. You know what
Thank you.
what you've come through, what you've done, what you're doing. It's amazing, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm you know, like I told you before, I have a short film that I just produced and starred in, and it's about.
When's that coming out, or is it out?
No, it's not out yet. We're in post production right now. It'll probably be about 10 minutes long. And I'm going to try to hit the film festival circuit in 2026.
Okay.
But it's about a veteran who a disabled veteran who you know sends a signal to the stars to try to get help, and when he gets back to something more than he would have ever imagined. You know, so it's a fun story, something that should inspire and touch you. You know. And I just was actually watching the rough cut today, so I was really happy about it. So right now we're at a point where we're gonna put it to the visual effects people and then the audio people. So you know, people don't really realize there's so many stages to making a movie. You know, I'm now putting my producer hat on. You know, it's like there's levels to it. You know, it's like you start off with the pre-production. Well, let's start off with the script first, right? And then we start off with pre-production, planning and everything. You want to get all your locations, your actors, and putting everybody together on a certain day. Then you have the production day, right? Which anything can go wrong that day, you know?
Yeah.
And then after the production day, now you have post-production day, right? So now you're editing and you're doing all that stuff, adding all that stuff. And then you have the marketing of the film, which is like, you got to be really able to do all these things because
It's a lot.
you know, it's a lot of stuff, you know, because now I gotta try to market the film and who am I gonna sell this to and who's the distributor and let me know about contracts and who's the lawyer and who's my entertainment lawyer and who, you know, it's
crazy.
Yeah, so my acting teacher always said this. His name is Kerry Scott. He's out of San Diego, but he always said there's two parts to this thing. It's called show business.
Yeah.
You got to know the show and you got to know the business.
Know the business. I love that. You know, one of the ideas I've got, we should talk about it offline, is how you can take what you've done on the high jump tutorials and bring it across to what you're now doing. Because I'll give an example. My son, who's 18, he's in national service. He has to do 2 years of conscripted army. And he's a former Singapore national boxer. He wants to become a film director. So he went to an art school here in Singapore. and I've, you know, he got in based on his script writing, interestingly. And
Nice.
yeah, so in theory, you come out, if you're fortunate, you'll get into a university that has a program.
Right.
But now with technology being what it is, you know, you pick up your phone and you can start recording things. You can start the journey a lot earlier with a lot less. So,
Right.
but you know, what advice have you got for people who are coming up that want to throw their hat into the ring? And do you think writing is a great way to start?
Yeah, I think writing is definitely. It just depends on what area you're talking about. If you're talking about acting, take some acting classes. That's not gonna hurt you. You know, I think that's gonna benefit you in the long run because the last thing you want to do is be on set and get booked for something and get your hat handed to you. You're like, what happened? Like I
Yeah.
said the lines, but did it come out? And the director keeps coming up to you like, I need you to say it this way. I need you to give me more. And you're like, I don't even know what more is. So like knowing the business is a big part of it. And even if you are an actor, like knowing all facets of the business is going to make you a better actor. Knowing
Yeah.
what camera is being, used, knowing when the camera's on you and what shot they're doing. If they're
Yeah.
doing an over shoulder shot and I'm in a crying scene, not really a big reason for me to cry because it's the camera's pointed on this person.
Yes.
But now when they turn around and they're in my face now let's let the
game time.
waterworks come.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's game time. So knowing stuff like that, because I could waste 3 takes with the camera on my back and I'm crying. Now I can't cry when the
Yeah.
camera's in front
You
of me.
can't reproduce it.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's like, know how to work the camera and stuff like that. Like that's gonna make you a better actor. And even as a writer, take some acting classes, learn production, learn cameras. Like it's gonna make you a better writer.
And live life,
But
right? It's to be a great writer, you've got to live life.
exactly. And actors, just all facets of that, because there's things I bring into my acting from my life that helps me be a better actor. And even in my writing. Yeah, for sure.
Of course. Jamie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking time. I'm really pleased that we got to do this today. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. I appreciate it. It was fun. I had a good time. We talked about a lot of interesting and fun stuff. So, good luck to you. And, hopefully we can work together some more in the future.
100%, brother. Thank you.
No problem. Hey, make sure you guys check me out at jamienieto.com. If you're an aspiring high jumper or coach, please take my high jump clinic. I normally do it twice a year, once in March, once in September. Watch out for me on the silver screen. And just keep up with me. I'm on Instagram at Jamie Nieto, so please follow me. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. So I'll post all the links and the details.